Today's episode is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a website, a domain name, or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Hello and welcome to London. Today I'm going to be doing some cityscape photography using a tilt-shift lens, so come with me. Hello, so I'm here in London today and I've been meaning to do this for quite a long time. I used to live in London for about 10 years. I know the place very, very well, but I've never really photographed it. It's one of those occasions when you live in the place, you just take it for granted, and I never did as much cityscape photography as I should have done. So I've come here today to put that right, and I just thought a bit of a switch and change up to the usual stuff in the Lake District and in the mountains would be a nice little change of pace that hopefully you will enjoy. So the plan today is to go to a few different locations and use the tilt-shift lens to shoot some cityscape photography. The reason I'm using a tilt-shift lens is because when you use a normal wide-angle lens, it really affects the perspective of buildings and they sort of tilt in towards the center of the frame, which just looks and feels unnatural. Your eyes don't do that, or your brain corrects your eyes when they do that, but using a tilt-shift lens corrects that as well. So I'm going to do that today and hopefully capture some really nice images. It's a beautiful sunny day, probably too sunny in fact, but it should be a good shoot. Okay, so I'm set up for my first shot of the day. I've got the camera here on the tripod, and I really don't want to sound like I'm complaining about what a beautiful day it is today. But these are not the conditions that I wanted. It's just too sunny. I'm trying to make the best of it though, so what I've done is sort of take a bit of shelter from the sun behind this wall here. And what that's then allowing me to do is to still shoot south across the river. And I have, if you can see here, the shard in the shot. That's the sort of scene that I wanted. It's not quite from the position I wanted, so the composition isn't quite right for what I had planned, but it's still going to be a decent shot and I'm going to make it work for me. So I have the polarizer on there as well because it's just so hazy. The polarizer is taking some of the haze out of the scene, and I've then got a 16-stop filter on the front. The water is very choppy and I want to just smooth all of that out. I've got boats moving through the scene as well. I don't want any of them in there. So it's just going to give that nice ethereal feel to the scene, and that's really what I'm looking for today. Settings wise, I'm in bulb mode. I've got that 16-stop filter on there. I'm at f6.3 because I'm just shooting straight across the river. There's nothing too close, so that's enough in terms of depth of field. And it's also then allowing me to get a shutter speed of about 6 minutes. It's a bit less than that, but 6 minutes roughly. And in that time, it's letting that water all smooth out. There is some sort of very light clouds above which will capture a bit of movement as well. So let's start that shot now, get that going, and then we'll see what that looks like. But absolutely stunning day. What a good day to be in the city. So here I am for the second shot of the day and I'm at Tower Bridge. Is there a more photographed scene in the whole world? Possibly not, but that's what I'm going to shoot anyway because I've not really shot it properly before, and that's what I'm going to do today using this tilt shift lens. I'm going as ambitious as I possibly can with this shot, just to try and raise it up above all the others that you see of the scene. I'm quite close to the bridge here. I'm going to try and get that in the scene and then pan round and make it into a panorama, and then get the Tower of London in the shot as well, and some of the city buildings behind me there as well. That's the composition that I'm going for. I'm going to use the tilt shift lens to get the nice straight lines. I'll show you how that works in a minute, but I'm also going to be using long exposure as well. So what I'm going to try and do is combine 2 long exposure images, because as I pan around, it's actually, because I'm so close, it actually distorts quite a lot. So I'm just going to try and combine 2 shots. It might not work, but it might turn into something pretty good. I've got a 16-stop filter on the front to give me an exposure time of about 5.5 minutes, and that's what I'm going to do, because again, there's boats moving through the scene, there's some nice interesting clouds. It will also remove the contrails that I can see in the sky as well, and it will also smooth out that water. So in total, this picture, if it works, will have taken me 11 minutes to expose by the time I combine the 2 of them together. So it is ambitious, it might not work. Very different to being in the countryside as well, as I'm having to deal with all my gear and make sure it doesn't get stolen, which is always an element of doing cityscape photography, especially if you've got good gear. There's lots going on, and I'm going to make it work. So I'll show you now how I'm going to use that tilt shift lens. So this is the Canon TS-E Mark II tilt shift lens, and the way it works, or the way we use it for this kind of photography, is we use the shift function. And what that does is, if I just have it normal, so this is just like any normal 24mm lens, if we angle it up, you can see that the tower of the bridge sort of starts to angle in towards the center of the frame, and that's what would happen if you used any normal sort of wide angle lens, especially at this distance between myself and the bridge. So what this lens allows you to do is, if we start to center the camera, so we want it nice and level, and you can see those lines start to go straight with the tower. Then we just tighten off the tripod, and you then use the shift function of this lens, and we just shift up by turning the knob there, and then you get the composition that we would like with the whole tower in it, and all those lines remain nice and straight. What I'm then going to do is, like I said, is just to sort of pan around and try and get that whole scene in the shot. It's an absolutely brilliant use of the tilt shift lens in this situation, and it's just going to help get that image above all the others that you see of this scene. Okay, so here I am on the Greenwich Peninsula, and I'm set up for my last shot of the day. It's a shot I've been planning for a very long time. It's a well shot location again, but it is particularly quiet. There's barely anyone here at the moment, and it's just an absolutely stunning evening. The scene behind me is Canary Wharf, or the Isle of Dogs, and it's got all those bank buildings there. And I'm going to shoot 2 shots. One, we're at now. I'm doing a very long exposure. It's about 6 minutes and 50 seconds, this one. The reason for that is just to really smooth out that water and get the most ethereal feel I possibly can. And I'm going to capture a little bit of colour in the sky and in those clouds as the sun starts to set. The second shot is then going to be after dark, because when it gets dark, these buildings light up and all those colourful lights reflect off the water and just provide a really, really interesting image. The way I'm doing it again is similar to the last time. I have got the tilt shift lens on the front of the camera again, and if you see here, if you angle up at a normal angle, 24mm, without any shift whatsoever, you can see that the buildings again are tilting in to the center of the frame, and that's not what I want. So using that shift function of the tilt shift lens, I just get it nice and level, nice and straight, and then just turn that shift so it goes up, and you get the perfect composition with nice straight lines. That's how the image is going to be working. Let's just finished shooting that, and that's a 6 minute and 50 second image, and it is looking absolutely beautiful with just a few flecks of colour starting to come into it and a perfectly smooth River Thames. I'm actually pretty excited about that image. So it's been an absolutely brilliant day today. It's just exactly what I needed. As you know, I've been struggling with my landscape photography recently, particularly around motivation to get out. So this nice change to come and do some cityscape photography has just been absolutely perfect and exactly what I needed. I've been gone from London for a while now, moved back up to Yorkshire, and I've been down a few times since then, but today I've really had a chance to enjoy it, and it's just reminded me how much I love this city. It's actually been quite emotional today because I met my wife here. We had our first child here as well, and just there's lots of history here. Tower Bridge, I used to drive across there every day to sort of see my wife when we first met. So just so much of my history and my family's history is tied up in this place. So it's just such a special location for me. It's strange as well, really, because when I was here, I pined for the mountains, and now I'm getting out into the mountains a lot. I'm pining to be back here. So it's really been a really nice time for me today to get back in touch with London, and I've enjoyed every second of it, and I've enjoyed using that tilt shift lens as well to really make the most of some of the scenery and the nice buildings and stuff that we have in London. Please do leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of the cityscape and the tilt shift lens. Is it something you might be interested in? And also stick around to the end so you can see the nighttime image and what I'm shooting now, which I think is going to be an absolutely epic time-lapse. This video though is sponsored by Squarespace. If you go to squarespace.com to start your free trial today, and if you go to squarespace.com/firstman, you can get 10% off your first purchase. They are brilliant, it's worth checking out. Please do also subscribe to the channel if you liked the video, and hit that notification bell if you're already subscribed so you can see my videos as soon as they come out. I really do hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you on another video very, very soon. I'm Adam, this is First Man Photography in London, out.